Well, good morning and welcome back to Wake Up America. I'm Katrina Zish. Excuse me. The January 6th committee investigating the attack on the Capitol will reveal the findings of its 10-month investigation this week. For more, let's check in with Newsmax congressional correspondent Kelmany Dukart, who joins us now from Capitol Hill. Good morning, Kelmany.
Good morning, Katrina. Members of the House Select Committee have been making the rounds on major U.S. networks, promoting the first of 6 hearings. The first one's going to be airing Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern on U.S. primetime television. They've been teasing evidence from over 1,000 witnesses and over 135,000 documents in an attempt to frame what they say is a coordinated effort to overturn the election results of the 2020 presidential election.
The world is watching to see how we respond to this, and we have to make certain that every single person who was involved in this in any way is fully accountable. No one in the United States is above the law, and that includes the former president. So this process is very important, and I think the American people are going to learn facts about the planning and execution of this that will be very disturbing.
And one of the latest developments, former Trump Advisor Peter Navarro was arrested on Friday on contempt charges for failing to comply with the January 6th committee. He's claimed executive privilege and maintains he had no involvement in the attack that day. Speaking out after his arrest at Nashville Airport, Navarro tweeted this: leg irons, handcuff, strip search, no food or water, solitary confinement, illegally denied access to my attorney, all for standing up for the Trump and Constitution. He's asking people to buy his book to finance his legal effort. But however, members appear to be split over what action to take following these hearings. Democratic Congressman Jamie Raskin, who serves on the Select Committee, promoting a few ideas of his own.
We need to solidify the right of the people to vote against voter suppression. Again, that's my view. And we need to make certain that the creaky processes of the Electoral College are not exploited to try to nullify the popular vote. But I've taken a position that the Electoral College is an undemocratic relic of the early Constitution.
Well, abolishing the Electoral College is a move that Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney opposes. She is one of only 2 Republicans to serve on that Select Committee, but members are divided over a number of other measures of what to do in the wake of these hearings, including voting reforms, which would include same-day registration. But there seems to be lacking consensus on what to do after these hearings to prevent another January 6th from happening.
All right. Thanks so much, Kelmany. Appreciate it. Rob?
All right. Thank you, Katrina. Former Trump advisor Peter Navarro has been charged with contempt of Congress for refusing to cooperate with the January 6th committee you just heard about. He was arrested Friday while getting on a plane in Nashville, Tennessee. He was later released. Take a listen.
Intercepted me getting on the plane, and then they put me in handcuffs. They bring me here, they put me in leg irons, they stick me in a cell. By the way, just historical note, I was in John Hinckley's cell. They seem to think that that was like an important historical note, okay? That's punitive. What they did to me today violated the Constitution.
The same John Hinckley that is playing in a band now and tried to kill Ronald Reagan in the early 1980s. Joining us now for more on what happened is former Acting Attorney General Matthew Whitaker. Mr. Attorney General, good to have you on. Peter Navarro, the second former Trump official to be indicted after ignoring a subpoena from this January 6th committee. He's charged with 1 count for refusing to appear for a deposition and then another for refusing to produce documents. Pretty serious charges. What ends up happening here?
Well, they're serious accusations, you're right, Rob, but ultimately they are misdemeanor crimes. And, Peter Navarro does not face a lot of, hard jail time for this. But there's so many things wrong with this case. I think the first thing that's wrong with this case is that every time the Congress in this highly partisan January 6th committee refers someone for prosecution, that takes away the resources from the FBI to look at things like violent crime, international terrorism, disruption of transnational criminal organizations that are bringing fentanyl and illegals, people into this country. And so it just takes away from things that should be the priority of the FBI.
Yeah.
I also look at this radical agenda that was exclaimed by Congressman Raskin just now in that interview you played. It is an extreme agenda that wants to dismantle the entire Constitution through, again, a highly partisan process that the American people, and we're going to see in November, the American people don't support. So I'm concerned about what happened to Mr. Navarro, and his treatment was unnecessary. If you look at how Steve Bannon, who has also been charged by the FBI, by the Department of Justice, as related to participating in the January 6th committee's investigation, you'll see that he was allowed to just report and make his own appearance or make those arrangements. And it seems to me highly unnecessary that Peter Navarro was treated this way. Yeah.
Do you think a lot of it was theatrics as we get ready for the big primetime hearings that are being produced by a former TV executive? 7 p.m. Eastern time, these hearings start. Nancy Pelosi seems to think that people will watch. I don't think people will, especially not in prime time.
Yeah, and it's interesting to me that it's going to be the partisan media that plays this in prime time. It's going to be NBC, ABC, CBS, and their cable affiliates, because this is their only play as we head into November, is to take us back to almost 2 years ago to a very terrible moment in American history where, a group had a riot that got out of control, and it was, everyone that participated in that riot's being prosecuted. And so I feel like the system has worked. They want to use it to partisan advantage. And that's where I think the American people are going to be very frustrated when they can't find baby formula, when we have, a violent crime explosion in our major cities, and inflation is out of control, and so many other things. Gasoline prices hit its all-time high recently, and the Democrats in Congress can't seem to pay any attention to those issues, but they can certainly look back a year and a half ago and try to hold Trump administration officials accountable, and again, as I mentioned, to misdemeanor charges.
Yeah, all-time highs, by the way, Mr. Attorney General, 24 of the last 25 days. That's Joe Biden's America right there. Real quick, we've got primaries in 7 states today, including California. A lot of those George Soros, super progressive DAs, their fate is on the line today in these primaries. Could we see the end of these DAs? Could today be the start of the end of this whole thing?
Yes, there's primaries in my home state of Iowa, as you know, Rob.
That's right, big bellwether.
Yeah, I think this is the beginning. You're having recall efforts on some of these radical prosecutors. And remember that their policies of whether it's releasing people pre-trial, whether it's not charging lower level crimes, and so many other of these policies have really added and increased this rising crime rate we see in New York City and San Francisco and Los Angeles and so many other places. Yeah. So this is going to be one of the many days of reckoning for those radical leftists.
Yeah, that's what I'm keeping a close eye on. In addition to Iowa, I'm keeping a close eye on what happens in California.
Go vote for Chuck Grassley. He's my friend.
Absolutely. Mr. Attorney General, great to have you back on. We appreciate it as always. Good to see you. Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.